It looks like we're finally starting to get to the bottom of Angie Stone's sudden passing. And the deeper we dig, the shadier the situation gets. At this point, it feels like every new detail we uncover just makes the whole thing nastier and even harder to ignore. When we first heard the tragic news about Angie's death, most people believed it was just a simple, devastating accident. No hidden story, no suspicious circumstances, just a heartbreaking moment where we lost an icon. But it didn't take long before the red flag started waving high. And trust me, those flags weren't just red, they were practically neon. First, almost everything we were initially told about the accident turned out to be a huge lie. Then, we found out that the driver behind the wheel of the truck that ended Angie's life had mysteriously disappeared. And on top of that, a whole mountain of other details simply didn't add up. The situation spiraled quickly, and it wasn't long before Jaguar Wright, who's never been shy about speaking the truth as she sees it, stepped in and confirmed the worst of our suspicions. According to Jaguar, Angie's death wasn't just some freak accident. It was a setup, plain and simple. And if you think that's the end of it, think again, because singer Al B sure also started dropping hints that pointed in the same direction. He even took it a step further, suggesting that Angie's death might be tied to the much bigger and much darker Diddy situation. It's starting to look like Angie's story might be connected to way more than we ever imagined. So, let's break it down piece by piece. When all this drama first began, we thought the worst thing happening in Angie's life was her public battle with Universal Music Group, UMG. In the weeks leading up to her death, Angie revealed that she had discovered UMG had been stealing from her. She spoke out, saying that their theft was one of the main reasons she had to keep working tirelessly for decades, unable to retire and enjoy the fruits of her labor. She was furious, but determined. Angie announced she was taking them to court, posting a powerful message. "I've just discovered something that's been hidden in the dark for too long. My publishing was stolen, and guess what? I know exactly who did it. But don't get it twisted. I'm coming for you. All the dogs who thought they could take what's mine. Trust, I'm ready." It echoed what Jamie Foxx had said not long before, a warning that when you start speaking the truth, dangerous things can happen. Angie promised her supporters that her story wasn't over, saying, "It's a new chapter, and you can bet the truth is coming to light. Stay tuned." Tragically, she never got the chance to have her day in court. Before she could make her case, she died under circumstances that now seem more suspicious by the day. And when you look at the details of the accident, the red flags become impossible to ignore. According to reports, one of the passengers who was with Angie at the time of the crash, Sharita Murphy, shared some chilling information. Sharita, one of 8 people riding in the van with Angie, posted on Facebook after the accident, expressing gratitude to be alive. She also credited Angie's calmness during the terrifying ordeal, but Sharita's post revealed something even more alarming. The van driver had suddenly started speeding up right before the crash. Angie noticed, and when she asked him to slow down, he flat out refused. Moments later, the van flipped 3 times before being hit by an 18-wheeler, the crash that ultimately claimed Angie's life. And here's another bombshell. Contrary to the first official reports, Angie didn't die from the initial rollover crash. After the van flipped, a bystander rushed over and actually pulled Angie from the wreckage. But just as she was being rescued, a semi-truck barreled through and slammed into her, killing her on the spot. At this point, you'd expect that authorities would be investigating the truck driver who hit her, right? But here's where things get even sketchier. The driver has vanished. Completely. An anonymous source who used to work at the same trucking company as the missing driver said, "I don't think he's coming back to work. This thing has tormented him. He's not answering calls or texts. My wife reached out to his wife to offer support, and we found out he turned in the rig and just left." His former boss said the driver's explanation was that he came upon the wreck too fast to avoid it. But honestly, with everything else we now know, that excuse isn't sitting right with a lot of people, especially considering the driver's history with alcohol-related incidents. And while no one's claiming to be Perry Mason out here solving mysteries overnight, the truth is obvious. Something about this situation stinks. Fans aren't buying the tragic accident narrative anymore. They're convinced there's a massive cover-up happening, and they think it's tied to much bigger names than anyone originally realized. Clive Davis, for example, is a name that keeps coming up in conversations. And you know when Clive Davis's name starts getting whispered in the shadows, Something serious is going down. Weeks have passed since Angie's tragic death, yet there's been no real investigation, no meaningful updates, and no explanations that make any kind of sense. It feels almost like they're trying to sweep her death under the rug, like Angie Stone was supposed to just quietly vanish from our memories without any hard questions being asked. But the thing is, people are asking, and they're not letting it go. According to Jaguar Wright, Angie's passing wasn't just random. It was about control. It was about money. It was about making sure that someone who was about to reveal too much never got the chance. Jaguar put it bluntly. They want their payment. They want their pound of flesh. They want you to keep feeding the system. Doesn't matter how hard she worked for it. That's not her money, that's their money. That's what they do. They've been robbing me for years. They stole more money from me than they stole from Angie. Jaguar also pointed out that Angie's death fit a disturbing pattern, similar to what happened to Aaron Carter and countless others. She warned that anyone who dares to challenge the system or even talk about it becomes a target. They attack us, Jaguar said. They come at us hard, especially in those first 72 hours. They try to silence us before we can even get the truth out. And it's not just Jaguar saying it. Al B. Sure also seemed to hint at something bigger going on. A few days after Angie's death, he posted a tribute on Instagram that, on the surface, looked like a simple memorial. But when you dig deeper, it feels like he was trying to send a message loud and clear. He wrote, "I can't really gather my own thoughts at the moment to say anything close to describing the profoundly brave and amazing woman my sister Angie Stone was, so I'll just let Angie say it to you all." Then he shared a screenshot of their last text conversation. And it wasn't just any conversation. It was a message from Angie about Diddy. She wrote, "Call me when you get a moment to chop it up with me. I've been praying hard for you ever since all this foolishness you've been saying for years finally been exposed and he gone down. I didn't realize just how much craziness you had actually gone through. Know that I'm praying for you and supporting you on everything that you got going on." If you know anything about Albisher's history with Diddy, you know this was not a random text for him to post. Out of all the conversations he could have shared, he chose the one where Angie tied herself to the Diddy scandal, almost as if he was trying to tell the world exactly where to look. And it doesn't stop there. Jaguar Wright once recalled a chilling encounter with Diddy years ago. She said she bumped into him unexpectedly at a studio, and for the first time ever, he approached her with fear in his eyes, asking her to pray for him. "I believe at that moment Puffy was terrified for his life," Jaguar said. "I think he knew things were spiraling, and he didn't think he was going to survive. When you put all these pieces together, Angie's discovery about stolen money, her lawsuit against UMG, the mysterious accident, the disappearing driver, the connection to Diddy, and the eerie silence afterward, it paints a picture that's way too ugly to ignore. It's no wonder fans are putting two and two together and calling foul, because when people like Jaguar Wright and Al B. Sure, people who have lived through the industry's dark side, start telling you there's more going on behind the scenes, you better believe it's worth paying attention to. So now the real question is, was Angie Stone's death just a random tragic accident? Or was it something far more sinister? A warning, a cover-up, a silencing? I want to hear what you think about all these new revelations. Are we looking at a real conspiracy unfolding in plain sight? Or are people reading too much into a terrible tragedy? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. And after you do, make sure to check out the next video because trust me, there's a lot more coming to light.